I know, I'm holding on to the past, but can you blame me? I have a lot of inconsistent feelings about Phase 4, but my most consistent feeling is I miss the OG6. And hey, what better way to commemorate them than with this recap that no one needs? So, in honor of Multiverse of Madness, let's go back to where it all started. I present to you the Infinity Saga. 2008, and this character no one has ever heard of is on the big screens. So, Marvel takes a chance on Robert Downey Jr., who plays Tony Stark, a tech billionaire that specializes in making military weapons. He kinda gets kidnapped or whatever and ends up making a suit to escape. Then he gets home, builds a better suit, and it's cool as frick. He also decided to stop manufacturing weapons because in his time away he realized weapons kinda kill people. I know. Obadiah Stane, Tony's dad's bestie / business partner back in the day, is very against this and decided to build his own suit. The two duke it out and Obadiah is dead. The movie ends with Tony Stark telling the world, "I am Iron Man," and he pieces out. Then, in the trend-setting first post-credit scene of the MCU, our guy Samuel L. Jackson talks to Tony about something called the Avengers Initiative. I've never actually seen this movie because not my Bruce, right? But does it really matter? I mean, everyone knows who the Hulk is. He's big, he's green, and he likes to smash. From what little I do know, Bruce Banner was trying to replicate this World War II experiment, but it went horribly wrong. He can't control his powers, something about this guy named Abomination, and, yeah, let's skip to the post-credits. He tells Bruce about this team thingy and asks if he wants to join. Great movie, but mainly filler. Tony and his assistant Pepper from the first movie get together, we meet Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, and that's pretty much all you need to know. My second favorite Avenger. His powers and his story are dope as shit. It's a shame that his movies are so... ¿Cómo se dice? Boring. Mind-numbingly boring. All you really need to know is Thor is from Asgard, he's heir to the throne, he has lightning powers, and has this hammer called Mjolnir that can only be picked up by the worthy. Thor's adopted brother, Loki, is also here, so insert 90 minutes of family drama, and then the post-credit scene has Nick Fury and this scientist going over a box called the Tesseract, which holds the Space Stone. And now I must interject with a brief lesson. In this universe, there are 6 Infinity Stones, and they are already super powerful on their own. But when you put them all together, you're practically... So it's really best that these don't get into the wrong hands. Here's a tracker to spot the Infinity Stones as they pop up through the movies. Remember how I said Bruce Banner was trying to replicate a World War II experiment? That's what this movie is about. So let's travel back to America, World War II. This scrawny, pathetic little man named Steve Rogers just wants to join the army and fight Nazis, but you know, he's so tiny and useless that he has no choice but to enter the super soldier program. Add some gamma radiation to a very hot Chris Evans and bam, we have Captain America. Now he's fighting these people called Hydra, led by a man named Red Skull. Cap gets a shield made of this rare metal called vibranium. Then he defeats the Red Skull, but sadly he loses his best friend named Bucky, only to get lost in the water himself, never to be seen again. Until he's seen again in 2011. Freshly thawed from the ice, Nick picks him up to join the Avengers, and now... Okay, a team-up movie like this was practically unheard of at the time, and this one did not disappoint. Basically, remember Loki? He's bitter about the events of Thor, so he makes a deal with this alien race, and in exchange for giving them the Tesseract, he will get an army to take over Earth. Meanwhile, Nick Fury accidentally activates the Tesseract, opening a portal, causing Loki to arrive, where he steals the Tesseract and then uses the Mind Stone in his scepter to brainwash our 6th and final Avenger, Clint Barton, also known as Hawkeye. And he's good with arrows, I guess? But come on, get in line, my guy. The Avengers battle Loki and have him trapped, but then Thor frees him so they can talk it out like brothers. But no, now Loki opened up a wormhole in the sky, the Chitauri are running rampant in New York City, and things are just a complete mess. Nick Fury brings the group together and tells them to get their shit together, and you know what? They do. So cue one of the most epic scenes ever, and things are ready to go to action. The Hulk is duking it out with Loki, Steve and Thor covering the aliens, and the government, for some reason beyond me, decides to send a missile to New York in an attempt to clear out the aliens. Tony realizes how freaking dumb that is, so he properly directs the missile to the wormhole, successfully killing all the aliens. However, sadly, his suit loses power and he's suffocating in space. Luckily, he falls back just in time and the day is saved. Thor takes Loki and the Tesseract to Asgard, and the post-credits scene introduces this purple grape. He's kinda important. One of my favorite MCU filler movies, Iron Man 3, is mainly about Tony dealing with his trauma and anxiety from the wormhole incident back in Avengers. One of my most hated MCU filler movies ever. You don't need to know anything except for the fact that they introduced the Aether, also known as the Reality Stone, and Thor's mom is not with us anymore. This movie deals with the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, because it turns out he's not really dead, and he in fact has been brainwashed by Hydra for years and years and years. Yeah, so Steve is stuck trying to deal with all of this stuff. Meanwhile, we also meet a new character named Sam Wilson, known as the Falcon, who honestly is just a glorified version of one of the funniest Marvel movies ever. We meet a new cast of characters, starting off with Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. He's a human, and his mom died when he was really young. Then he was abducted by aliens, and now his adoptive father, Yondu, employs Peter as a thief. We also meet Gamora, adoptive daughter of Thanos, the aforementioned Purple Grape. And then there's Groot, Rocket Raccoon, and Drax the Destroyer. The movie takes place in space and is about Thanos and this other guy fighting over the Power Stone, and it features my favorite prison escape ever. The Avengers retrieve the Mind Stone. Tony and Bruce now use the stone to make Ultron, a global defense program. Insert a party scene that was the backbone of Marvel fanfiction at the time, and now Ultron is awake, contemplating humanity's existence. And he decides, in order to save humanity, he must destroy it first. So, Ultron goes to a country called Sokovia and employs these twins, Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. He's fast and she's OP as frick, but we'll get there. Through some wacky shenanigans, we meet this new robot named Vision. He has the Mind Stone from Loki's scepter in his head. The Maximoffs learn about Ultron's intentions to wipe humanity and decide to dip, so they help the Avengers, and now everyone is rushing to Sokovia, where Ultron is going to put his plan in action. What is his plan, you may be asking? Well, he wants to lift the city, and then drop the city, and then the world will be destroyed or something. I don't know, okay? Pietro dies saving Clint from a bullet. Wait. Yeah, that checks out. And in the end, a lot of civilians die. But at least the world is saved? Roll credits, and that gauntlet has 6 empty slots. Kinda sus if you ask me. Pretty much filler. Paul Rudd plays Scott Lang, who's Ant-Man, and he can shrink using these things called Pym particles. Next up, the movie starts off with a brainwashed Bucky killing these 2 random strangers. Flash forward to present day, 2016. After the events of Age of Ultron with the Sokovian thing, the UN decided to pass the Sokovian Accords, requiring the Avengers to be overseen by the government if they want to continue superhero work. They'll lose a lot of control, but at least a lot of civilian damage can be prevented. However, at the meeting finalizing the Accords, a bomb goes off, killing T'Chaka, leader of Wakanda and father of a new character, Black Panther. Bucky is blamed for the whole thing, so Steve splits off to go find him. Hey, what the hell was— I didn't do it, man. Oh, cool. Want to go to Germany? So now we have Team Cap, consisting of Cap, Bucky, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man. They all want to ignore the government and keep doing the stuff they do. Meanwhile, Team Iron Man, consisting of Iron Man, Black Widow, War Machine, Vision, Black Panther, and somehow Spider-Man, they want to follow the Accords and protect the citizens. Both teams duke it out in one of the coolest fight scenes ever. Later, Stark learns that Bucky's innocent and he didn't actually kill T'Chaka. So he teams up with Bucky and Steve to take down the real bad guy. But then, the bad guy snitches, and, Remember how Bucky killed these two strangers in the beginning of the movie? Yeah, those strangers were Tony's parents. So he blows up on them, and then there's another epic fight scene, and the two split off. Black Panther saves the day, roll credits. Once again filler, but essentially we meet Doctor Strange, an egotistical neurosurgeon who loses the use of his hands. He decides to practice magic, and we're also introduced to the Time Stone. This takes place right after the first movie, and it's really funny, but also kind of filler. Basically, we meet Peter's dad, Ego. He is a celestial, and actually, well, I'm so glad I can share all of this power with you, son. I also think now is the time to tell you about how I killed your mother. You what? Bam, bam, a huge fight ensues between the two. And oh yeah, Yondu, Peter's adoptive father, yeah, dead. And then the post-credit scene teases the introduction of this character named Adam. Third time's the charm, right? In this new batch of Spider-Man movies, we have a very baby-faced Peter Parker. It's a pretty fun movie, more of a high school flick than your typical Spider-Man film. Basically, after Civil War, he's been itching for a mission, and he's just really eager for all of these responsibilities. But Tony tells him that he should just stick to being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But in a world with much bigger threats, Peter knows he could do more. But should he do more? Is he ready for these responsibilities? Peter seems to think so, and so he tracks down the Vulture, and it leads to a super badass scene where he's holding a whole freaking fairy together with his bare hands. He messes up though, and Tony comes to save the day. He's furious at Peter for not letting the adults handle it and takes away Peter's suit. And then the whole movie is basically Peter learning that he just needs to take it one step at a time and stick to being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Finally, we have a good Thor movie. Sorry, not good. Great. We meet Thor's sister Hela, Lord of Death. Loki's alive. Again. And then Asgard blows up. But fear not, because we learn that the real Asgard was the friends we made along the way. What a happy movie. I'm sure the post-credit scene isn't that. We expand on Black Panther, otherwise known as T'Challa. Remember the super rare and important metal vibranium? Yeah, apparently it's not rare. Like, at all. The country of Wakanda has had a monopoly on the element and has been hoarding it for themselves. But after a friendly talk with Michael B. Jordan, T'Challa decides that, they can share. First off, we have a new tracker. This will warn us of Thanos' progress. So remember how Thanos encountered Thor's ship with all the Asgardian citizens? Well, with the help of the Power Stone, he kills all the Asgardians, then he kills Thor's best friend, then he kills Loki and takes the Space Stone too. Don't be too sad though, he never really dies. Meanwhile, Hulk is sent crashing into Earth where he warns Doctor Strange and Tony about Thanos. And here, we finally learn his plan. Thanos is going to collect all 6 Infinity Stones so that he can kill half of all life with the snap of a finger. Thanos' henchmen come to Earth to take the Time Stone from Strange. Peter sees all of this going down and ditches school to help because, who wouldn't? Strange is kidnapped in space. Tony and Spidey follow. Meanwhile, the Guardians are chilling until they run into Thor, so Thor steals the rat in the tree so he can get a new hammer. Meanwhile, the rest of the Guardians go to nowhere, where the Reality Stone is. Thanos is already there though, and it goes a little something like this. Tell me where the Soul Stone is. No. Do I need to threaten Nebula too? Okay, let's go. So they go to Vormir, which is where the Soul Stone is. You need to sacrifice someone you love in order to retrieve the stone. And, so now Thanos is halfway there, you guys. The rest of the Avengers go to Wakanda, where they have the technology to extract the Mind Stone from Vision's head. They plan to destroy the stone, but sadly that means Vision is going to die too. Wanda is understandably upset, so she stays by his side. Meanwhile, the space crew have all met up at Thanos' destroyed homeworld. There they plan to end him once and for all. Strange does some time jutsu and says that he's seen every possible outcome for this war. How many do we win? 5. Cue the Heish video and bam, this movie has a happy ending. But no, there's only one timeline in which they win. Thanos arrives and everyone has him in a chokehold and is super close to winning. But, well, you killed her, didn't you? And this idiot undoes all their progress. Thanos is about to kill Tony, but Strange offers him the Time Stone in exchange for his life. Meanwhile in Wakanda, Steve, Black Widow, and Black Panther are out on the field. Bruce is in the Hulkbuster. The Wakanda soldiers are there too, battling Thanos' army, and this is some of the dopest shit you will ever see. Then Thor, Rocket, and Groot have the coolest entrance ever, and it is all-out war. The surgery wasn't working out for Vision though, so now Wanda has to kill him herself. Unfortunately, Thanos arrives too, so now Wanda is soloing him as well. She kills Vision just in the nick of time, but time is more on Thanos' side. He uses the stone to rewind and then retrieves the Mind Stone, and all hope is lost. So yeah, Thanos really won. No one would have guessed that the heroes would lose, but that's exactly what happened. All we have left is the original 6. May the fallen rest in peace. Complete filler, basically just quantum realm info dump. But something really funny was the post-credits scene. The gang was just chilling, testing out some quantum travel, and then... You guys? Hello? This is an origin story for Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. She's a human who absorbed the powers of the Space Stone and is now OP as heck. This was 3 years ago, can you believe it? Anyway, let's begin. Captain Marvel comes and saves Tony and Nebula in space. Then together, all of the Avengers decide to find Thanos and take the stones back. They find him on some wilderness retreat, and he solemnly explains that he used the stones to destroy the stones, and there's nothing the Avengers can do. They kill him and all part their separate ways. Flash forward 5 years. The world is doing terribly. Tony has a family now though, and Bruce and the Hulk combine into Professor Hulk. Thor is fat. Hawkeye is an assassin. And Nat's just trying to keep everything together. Oh, and remember Ant-Man? Yeah, he's been stuck in that truck for 5 years. By some miracle, a rat releases him from the truck, and bam! Time travel. He pulls up to the Avengers, and together they decide to pull a time heist. They split up in 3 different locations: New York 2012, Asgard 2013, and Vormir 2014. The Reality Stone is successfully taken from Asgard. Wacky hijinks ensue in 2012. The Time and Mind Stone are retrieved, but I can't say the same for the Space Stone. They then go back to 1970, retrieve the Space Stone, and there's some really happy, heartfelt scenes. Though I can't say the same for these two on Vormir. Remember that sacrifice stuff I was talking about back in Infinity War? Well, these two best friends are having a really tough time, but I'll spare you the pain. Also in 2014, Nebula and War Machine successfully steal the Power Stone, but time travel has its consequences. 2014 Nebula's programming is showing footage of Thanos' success, and the Avengers plan to undo everything. 2014 Thanos, a now very cocky man, is intent on stopping the Avengers from undoing all of his work. Now, we have all 6 stones. Bruce snaps. Everyone is brought back to life. The OG3 are fighting 2014 Thanos, and it's super sick. But it's still not enough. Yet just when things are looking too grim, thousands of portals are opening, and cue the coolest fight scene of all time. I know I've said this so many times already, but I really mean it here. There's so many callbacks and some badass 1v1s, namely Carol and Wanda, and then we hear the most iconic line of all time.
I am inevitable.
Thanos is finally defeated and all is well. Well, almost. Tony's human body wasn't meant for the radiation, and so may he rest in peace. Thor joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, or as he puts it, the Asgardians of the Galaxy. Steve puts the stones back where they belong, gives Sam the shield, and he lives his life out with Peggy, his one true love. This was such a beautiful movie, so much fan service, and I loved it all. What a beautiful, perfect end to the MCU. Psych, you didn't forget about capitalism, did you? In this really fun Spider-Man movie, we get a perfect follow-up to the events of Endgame. We learn about life after the blip, and we can really see the impact of the fallen Avengers. I mean, people are so desperate for more of Earth's mightiest heroes that they're turning to Peter and calling him the new Tony Stark. But in contrast to his homecoming self, he doesn't want those responsibilities right now. He just wants to bang MJ. And what better opportunity than a field trip to Europe? MJ finds out that he's Spider-Man, so she's ready to bang as well. There's a bit of teen angst going on, but then we meet our favorite actor, Jake Gyllenhaal. Here he plays one of my favorite MCU villains, Mysterio. He was, of course, wronged by Tony, and now desperate to get Avenger-level recognition, he used illusion technology to cosplay a bunch of different villains so he can miraculously save the day like the Chad he is. When Mysterio finds out Peter knows about his true identity, he decides to kill Spider-Man. Then, using the illusion tech, there's this insane psychedelic scene where he basically just taunts Peter about his darkest fears. Peter absolutely breaks down, says he can't handle being Spider-Man, not with all of this pressure. Happy reassures him that the one thing Tony never doubted was choosing Peter. And then Back in Black is playing, and I love Marvel so much sometimes. Using his Peter tingle for the first time in the MCU, Spidey beats Mysterio, and the movie ends with him and MJ officially together. What a happy ending. Nah, I'm just playing. You didn't forget about the post-credit scene, did you? In the best post-credit scene of all time, J.K. Simmons comes back as J.J. freaking Jameson from the Raimi trilogy and releases footage that Mysterio sent. Concrete proof leaking Spider-Man's identity and framing him behind his crimes. If you're just now getting into the MCU, consider yourself lucky, because the terror we had to go through the summer this movie came out was unreal. Sony threw a huge fit over the Spider-Man profits and was threatening to end their contract with Disney right after this huge cliffhanger. You couldn't go on the internet without a Save Spidey hashtag being thrown in your face. It's okay though, everything's all good now. Sony had the time of their lives leaking the entire plot of No Way Home to us, but hey, that's a story for another time. Thanks so much for sticking around. Originally, this was going to be posted before No Way Home, and I was going to talk about the other Spider-Man movie and the phase stuff that came out by then, but December 16 came and went, so I decided to split this video into two. Don't worry, I won't ghost you again. There's going to be other videos between then and now. And finally, thank you so much for 100+ subscribers. It's honestly insane that we've gotten this far. I have so many plans for the future of this channel, so stay tuned.